Music is one of the oldest expressions of mankind, with its history stretching back to time immemorial. Humans have known music since they made their first sound, and as civilizations advanced, this art also developed. Let's say we want to start from scratch. Let us go way back in time. For example, 1,000,000 years ago. By then, earliest men such as Homo habilis and Homo erectus were living. These might be the first creatures that realized that by striking different things they would produce different sounds. They may have come across an uneven piece of stone which they hit with a pebble. It made different sounds every part they struck it at. This could have been the world's first musical instrument. A mind-blowing recent finding was made at Bruniquel Cave in France, where archaeologists found stalagmites apparently broken and rearranged by Neanderthals to make particular sounds. These are about 170,000 years old stalagmites that, when hit, create musical tones. Isn't it amazing? 170,000 years ago, people were able to create music for themselves. It is interesting that these tools are still being used in Tanzania. No one knows when this started, but some say it could be over 1,000,000 years old. Picture yourself going back 1,000,000 years ago, when many of the animals today did not even exist and early humans were making music. However, the first melody ever produced was probably from human vocal cords. Reason: unlike other animals that have only monotonous sounds, people have the ability to sing. Humans had the intellect to coordinate their songs in such a way that they enjoyed them and even others who listened to them would like. Moreover, another thought-provoking issue is that music can change brain processes and eventually lead to dopamine release. Dopamine is actually released into our brains when we feel happy. In other words, our ancestors were rewarding their brains by listening or playing music. If you want to learn more about dopamine, comment below and we will definitely make a video about it. In southern Germany, archaeologists found a 40,000-year-old flute in a cave. This is the first engineered instrument for humans, though there could have been older ones made from wood or other perishable materials that were not preserved. Those days, humans lived off hunting wild animals and gathering wild plants since they were still hunter-gatherers. In this case, it was impossible for them to come up with big and heavy instruments. They had to be small and light so that they could carry them wherever they went. Now let us move forward to the starting of human farming and settling down. The first civilizations started around large rivers as Tigris and Euphrates in Mesopotamia or Nile in Egypt. Whenever people grouped together at one place, they naturally got more time for merrymaking and fun. They couldn't just stare at each other while gathered. Therefore, something ought to be done about this boredom. One would sing, others would dance. Later on, there occurred production of bigger instruments because moving around carrying them was no longer necessary. About 1,500 years ago, an indigenous Australian instrument called the didgeridoo was developed, a hollow tree trunk that is blown into by Aboriginal Australians to produce a deep and unique sound represents this instrument. Playing it requires a special method of breathing referred to as circular breathing, which enables the player to continue playing for a long time. In ancient Egypt, for instance, they had a god of music, Hither. There are many wall paintings in ancient Egypt showing musical instruments like harps, flutes, and cymbals. This shows how important music was in their daily and religious life. The African harp is one of the most ancient stringed instruments in the world, which appeared approximately 13,000 years ago. Imagine for a moment that someone's mind worked out this. It flies strings on two pieces of wood and touches them. Some wonderful sounds come out. This is a parent instrument of all modern stringed instruments such as guitars or even tars and setters among others. Surprisingly enough, the oldest song that has ever been found is dated back to 3,400 years before our time. The song was discovered at Ugarit, an ancient city in Syria with Hurrian inscription. It seems interesting that researchers were able to reconstruct it, and now we can listen how it would be like to live 3,400 years ago. In 1020, an Italian called Guido Arezzo invented musical notes. Consequently, music could then be written down on paper, hence allowing anyone who understood its language to play any song. With this development, music notation spread worldwide, rapidly leading to the production of more integrated and intricate music forms. Though the church was powerful at that time, and only church music was allowed to be written by Guido. For over 4 centuries, music in Europe was predominantly religious. Then, from the 15th century, there was a gradual decline in the church's power, leading to the rise of secular music. If you want to have an insight into medieval Europe, you can watch this video on things. However, this kind of music did not reach everyone. For ages, most average people did not know what an organized musical piece is like. It was only privileged who could get access to it, including being able to pay for its performers. All others would just hum their songs or perceive sounds coming out of nature as their best melodies in life. Composers had a way of hiding messages in their compositions as well. For instance, Johann Sebastian Bach hid his name within certain notes. This later became a tradition, and many other composers followed suit with this idea. Onwards to the year 1877. In this year, Thomas Edison developed the phonograph, which he is famous for. This was the first device that could record sound. Historically, we have no oral music or sound before 1877, but if you think about it carefully, how did Beethoven's symphonies, for instance, survive from several centuries ago? They have survived because he wrote notes, and now these notes can bring those symphonies to our ears. His own voice reciting the nursery rhyme, "Mary Had a Little Lamb," was the first sound Edison recorded. Just imagine, the first thing he ever records in history is a nursery rhyme.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
Emil Berliner came up with the gramophone in 1887 that used flat discs to record and play back sound. These replaced phonographs quickly, and music became more globalized, reaching people everywhere in the world. The time of cassettes came after that, followed by CDs as well. You Are Aware of Which is the first album that was released on CD. The album The Visitors by ABBA was the very first recorded music disc on compact disc or CD in 1982. This represented a major departure from conventional musical techniques, given that cassettes and vinyl discs fell far short of the sound quality provided by this new medium. But then an even bigger revolution struck in 1998 when MP3 player appeared. This made it possible to play music digitally for the first time. For what reason do you think this mattered at all? Because so many songs could now be put into one small thing. No longer did people have to carry around piles of CDs or cassettes. Apple's first iPod came out 3 years later, in 2001. This device could hold 1,000 songs and had a 10-hour battery life. 5 years ago, the most sophisticated CDs contained only 99 records. Another remarkable fact is that this same iPod took digital music to become mainstream. Prior to that era, many people thought digital music was strictly for hackers and techies. However, with the advent of iPods, digital music became easily accessible, as they revealed how simple it could be to enjoy such kind of music online. Since then, music has experienced exponential growth. Nowadays, one can access millions of songs with a smartphone. Digital music is available even in the world's most impoverished regions where there may be no food or water. But still, acoustic guitars, pianos, and violins have retained their traditional importance despite various technological improvements in digital and modern instruments today. However, many contemporary musical sounds are generated by computers. We might be heading toward a future where traditional means of playing an instrument could be obsolete, since more artists are considering working with computers. Wrapping up, music remains a vital aspect of human existence, since our forefathers utilized stones and wood to produce sound, while we are using artificial intelligence for composing as well as making music. By the time humans cease to exist on Earth, it is likely that music will still play an important role in our lives. Perhaps in the next 100 years, we will have the possibility to transmit sounds directly into our minds. Which type of songs do you like, and who are your favorite artists? Leave your comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.